I was impressed. You were impressed. Whether you love or hate the man, I'm sure everyone in Uncle Sam's country at least felt some respect for YFN Lucci when word got out that he refused to snitch on Thugger. But if for some reason you thought they'd become sweet after that, then think again. Because this clip of a YFN gang member beating up a YSL rival is the latest out of Fulton Jail. The same jail that's holding both Lucci and Thugger. So what's up? Is there a war brewing between Lucci and Thugger's gangs behind bars? And could this new conflict ruin their chances of walking free? Tick tock boom. Thugger and Lucci have been in the same Fulton jail since both of them got arrested. And since both of them got arrested, they've both been trying to get out. Unfortunately for them, it's not been easy. And there's a couple of reasons and people we can blame on that. And no, I'm not mentioning Gunner. I'm talking about Fulton County District Attorney Fannie T. Willis. She's the one who took down both Young Thug and his crew and YFN Lucci with his crew. But with the way the trial has been going, it seems she is only interested in locking up Thugger. Because that's the only explanation why everyone except Thugger, and I mean everyone, has been given the chance to walk away if they just do one thing: snitch on Thug. Now we could turn the heat on the attorney all we want, but the truth is, even if Thugger and Lucci had a chance to beat their separate cases, they've also been part of the reasons their own chances have been dwindling. One night of drive-by shooting in a Maybach led to a multiple charge Rico indictment for Lucci. We're talking racketeering, violation of the state's anti-gang law, and possession of a firearm during commission of a felony. If found guilty, there's every possibility that the Atlanta trap artist would never get out. For Thugger, it's just as bad, if not worse. He's charged with 8 counts. Conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, also known as RICO, participation in criminal street gang activity, 3 counts of violating the Georgia Controlled Substances Act, possession of a firearm while committing a felony, and possession of a machine gun. But here's the problem. Thugger and Lucci appear not to have a sense of self-preservation, because they've done much more to worsen their case than any prosecutor looking to keep them behind bars. I can't show you for obvious reasons, but later in this clip, the YFN gang member tries to scrape off the gang tat on this YSL member. And I don't think anyone needs to be told that the whole video is the dumbest thing legally for both squads. Why? Because the Rico case that DA Willis and her team of prosecutors built against Thugger has been missing one vital piece. They've been trying to get anyone in the squad to admit that YSL was actually a criminal gang and not just a label. And for all the talk of betrayal within the YSL ranks, the road to establishing that claim has been quite tricky. Take Gunner, for example.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
When this clip broke out on social media, everyone insisted that this was it. Gunner had given up Thugger. He was a snitch. They might be right, but according to the law, he technically didn't cheat. His yes ma'ams were a direct result of something he agreed to, called the Alfred plea. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the legal details, but the plea basically allowed him to admit that YSL was a gang without saying it. But that's not enough. If the prosecutors are going to sweep the jury's opinion, they know they need to squash any doubts. They need to tighten the case against Thug. Luckily for the prosecutors, both Thug and Lucci have been helping them against their own selves. Like some black musically inclined Mike Ross, they've been creating and handing over new indicting evidence for the state to use against them. There have been a couple of self-implicating incidents since both rappers got arrested, and some even in the middle of trial. There was the incident of July 22, where YSL members jumped and stabbed YFN Lucci in the same jail. Then Thugger was caught on tape receiving drugs in court. Gotta respect the balls on that guy. Then YFN Lucci posted this bizarre photo of himself mixing alcohol with lean and a couple of other contraband items. There's gotta be some street code that stops homies from snitching on theyself. And then we have both the tat scraping incident and the fact that both offenses were caught on tape and recorded on phones that shouldn't have been in the jail cell in the first place. Do you see what I mean when I say these dudes are moving against themselves? Or maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe they hate themselves so much that they can't see the forest for the trees. They're too busy beefing, they can't see that they're also self-destructing. It's almost as if there's no way to squash the beef before it's too late. Or is there? Ending the YSL, YFN beef. To squash a beef, you gotta understand its roots. How did Young Thug, real name Jeffrey Lamar Williams, come to hate Rashawn Bennett, aka YFN Lucci, to the point where they've tried and ultimately failed to kill themselves? It gets even more bizarre when you consider the fact that both men are part of the Blood Gang. They're just from different feuding factions. And, as you might have already guessed, their beef began with a death in the family, YFN Lucci's family. The individual he lost wasn't a brother in the biological sense. He was OG Nut, aka Big Nut, and he was Lucci's homie, mentor, mentor and the person that put him on and helped him elevate his game. Then on the 11th of January 2015, Donovan Thomas, aka OG Nut, lost his life when he was murdered on McDaniel Street in the Castleberry Hill neighborhood at an Atlanta barbershop.
The search is on for the person who shot 3 people, including a 14-year-old. One man died.
All 3 victims, including a 14-year-old, were brought here to Grady Memorial Hospital, and 26-year-old Donovan Thomas was in the most serious condition, and the medical examiner's office confirmed he did not survive.
Before his death, Nut was well respected in the streets and by other OGs in the game. He was also well known within hip-hop circles. So when he was killed, the first question that everyone was asking was who pulled the trigger. The authorities had no answer, but on the streets, Lucci was pointing fingers at YSL, specifically Young Thug. This is where the feud officially began. Nut's death led to 37 separate hits. That region in Atlanta quickly welcomed a bloodbath. Someone from either faction was shot and killed every other month. Even Lucci's mama would get shot in the leg. Then, by February 2016, the beef became known to the music industry, and it became loud and very disrespectful. The earliest spat during this period came from Lucci when he claimed to have smashed Thug shouting. Thug responded by posting up his girl with the caption, "This the only sofa this bitch on." Then Lucci would dig in his back pockets for receipts. Chats between him and Thugger's babe when they were feeling each other. Surprisingly, Thugger backed off from the beef after this, but Lucci was on demon time. And soon, he would address the affair in a live interview.
You know how she was about me, so you know.
That's what I saw. I saw that you said you slept with his girl. Is that what it's about?
I was in the bed with her a couple times.
You know, this is the kind of drama that runs a man wild, and anyone could tell that Lucci was looking for a reaction. Thugger reacted alright, but not in the manner Lucci was expecting. In 2017, Thugger released this tweet that made Lucci's skin crawl. "I dropped EBBTG on Tupac's B-Day because I'm the new Pac. I feel like I'm the thug he didn't get to become. Hashtag, so I'm gonna finish what he started." The acronym EBBTG was in reference to his 2017 EP titled Easy Breezy Beautiful Thugger Girl, or Beautiful Thugger Girls for short. Now, any rapper that compares himself to Tupac should prepare for the heat. And it's not just because Tupac fans are gatekeepers of his legacy. Pac is worshipped by the media and artists, both young and old, and Lucci fell in that category. The tweet rubbed off on Lucci in all the wrong ways, and he went for the man's jugular with a diss tweet saying, "Pac would have never worn a dress." This 6-word tweet was in reference to Young Thug's 26 mixtape Jeffrey, in which the rapper appeared on the front cover in a dress designed by Italian designer Alessandro Cenconi. Thug would explain he wore the dress to conceal the AK-47 assault rifle, but at the time, this wasn't his defense. His defense was an immediate offense against his Atlanta counterpart. He struck back with a series of tweets that were nothing more than thinly veiled threats, but the most threatening read, "Thank God you able to take care of your mama, and be humble. Doing too much could become a deep sleep." YFN Lucci responded by dropping a single titled Like Pac, in response to the beef, which he released on what would have been Tupac's 46th birthday. Then he retweeted any and everyone who praised the song. From here on out, the beef would take a mostly childish turn. Snide disses, threats of smacking, and all that jazz. In fact, some fans became convinced that it was a fake beef up until Lucci's arrest and Thugger's arrest a year later. Any hope? So you want to know if Young Thug can beat his charges? Boy, here we go. Do you remember this woman from before? Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA prosecuting this case. Well, she's the reason why my answer to that question is no, and I'll tell you why. The woman in this clip is Fani Willis, and the man you see taking a baby from his girlfriend at the defendant's table right beside her is none other than YSL Mondo. Does it make sense yet? No? I'll break it down. YSL Mondo was one of the original co-founders of the YSL label along with Thug. In 2019, he ran into some trouble, a case of aggravated assault that could have seen him spend some quality time behind bars. But before he went to trial, Mondo's cousin recommended Fani Willis to him. She agreed. And by the time she was done defending him, the judge not only lowered his charges, he was put on a program instead of spending time in jail. Even after his sentence, Fani Willis worked to get him an early release from the program due to COVID. She did her job too well. And that's why Mondo was so shocked to see her prosecuting Young Thug. He says that when they worked together, they shared what he described as a cool relationship. She was even aware of his rap career and used it in her defense. And that's why it shocked Mondo so much. He even said in a live interview that her current form was not her character. He insisted that they'd been intimate enough for him to know who she really is. In his exact words to a Rolling Stone interviewer, "I done had auntie to nephew, mother to son type talks with her." But does he really? Because the truth is, before defending him, Willis had previously worked as a prosecutor in the Fulton County DA office for over 16 years. She only took on Mondo's case during a brief period period that she left the office in 2018 to establish her own private practice. So can you understand that this goes beyond just the prosecution? There is some heavy political sauce in the mix, and even Mondo is quick enough to realize this. In his words, it's other people that's behind her pulling the strings. But if you ask me, I say that Mondo was just in denial of the truth that was staring him in the face throughout the time he was represented by her. She was not his friend. She was not his mother, his sister, and definitely not his aunt. She was just an ambitious lawyer doing her job. And the reason I'm convinced that this is the case is because Mondo would recently confirm that Willis told him back then that she had plans to run for DA's office and that she warned him. She was like, "Don't mess my name up now. You know I'm about to get ready to run for this head DA. You f around and do something else, I'm gonna sock it to your ass." Funny thing is that Willis hasn't denied she said this. She even confirmed that she represented Mondo in the past and she wishes him well. What's naive is the fact that Mondo believed that Willis was on their side when she had that kind of history and when he didn't keep contact with her for almost 2 years. In the meantime, while Mondo has come to Thugger's defense, staying in touch with Thug's ma and sisters, he also maintains that when he co-created YSL with Thug, it was just a music crew. In 2019, they had a public beef after Thug misunderstood some things Mondo said about the creation of YSL. But since then, they've squashed that beef. And Mondo is all about freeing Thug from jail while dissociating himself from anything that would link him to the brewing Rico case. And you can bet that Willis wouldn't hesitate to take down her former client if he pops up on her radar. She's already made it known. Now, while we've been wishing this beef between Lucci and Thug would end, as I've already pointed out, it might be too late. Willis is the type of woman who has a track record of getting what she wants, no matter how long it takes. And what she wants right now is Thugger's head. So where does this leave young Thug? Is there something we can at least hold on to? A reduced sentence? Anything as hope for Thugger? I'm sorry, it still doesn't look pretty from where I'm standing. An emergency motion filed May of 2022 by Thug's lawyer revealed the living conditions of the rapper. His lawyer described it as inhumane jail conditions. At the time, he filed a request for bond, but it was denied. But how bad are these living conditions that his lawyer had to file a motion? Well, he described it as solitary confinement, total isolation in a windowless cement compartment with only a bed and a toilet and an overhead light, which remains on 24 hours per day, preventing any sleep, rest, or meditation. Thug's lawyer also went to further claim that the rapper has no access to media, including TV or the internet, nor any freedom to exercise, shower, or human contact. And I'm not saying that you should trust this lawyer. I mean, I just showed you why Mondo shouldn't have trusted Willis, but his lawyer isn't the only source we have. Gunna had also spoken out against Thug's poor jail conditions in an Instagram post to his 4 million plus followers. In the caption, he wrote, 22 and 2, just a bed and a shower, no windows, just walls, can't see or talk to anyone. You can see why I'm so sure that Thug's the only one they want. Many OGs in the game have even gone the mile to say that all of this, the trial, the depositions and baits, are just formalities. They don't need anyone to snitch. Willis already has enough to indict Thug and keep him permanently behind bars. She just wants to crush him completely. It's the 15th law of power, and that's why Willis hasn't backed down from using his lyrics against him. Time and again, she's bundled up Thug's gang activity with his rap music. When asked in August of 2022 about a certain Georgia state bill, a legislation that was proposed to limit the use of rap lyrics as evidence in criminal proceedings, this is what Fannie Willis had to say.
I think that I would welcome an opportunity to sit down with Hank Aaron and discuss that proposed legislation. I don't think that it will be successful. I think if you decide to admit your crimes over a beat, I'm going to use it.
This is why people have been troubled. Most of them don't feel it's right to use the Rico law to indict young black males who have just been mixing gang culture with their music. Rico was originally for the mafia. Most of these gangbangers, including Thug, aren't involved in any criminal enterprise on the scale that would involve the use of a Rico charge. So why are they so concerned? Well, the Rico charge is a death blow. If Thug is found guilty, it's over. There's no coming back. That's how serious this case is. And that's why it's so ridiculous to me that the rapper isn't devoting all his energy to ensuring he doesn't end up losing all of his freedom.